Good morning, I am Giovanni Costabile, and today I will talk you about the Holy Thorn of Glastonbury and the Two Trees of Valinor. Now, there is a legend according to which Saint Joseph of Arimatea came to England after Jesus' death and resurrection, and the Holy Grail was carried with him. When he landed, he climbed the hill to its top and planted his staff there, and the staff immediately blossomed and sprouted. The tree was then named the Holy Thorn, and the peculiarity of this tree was that it blossomed twice a year, at Christmas and another time in May, as usual for hawthorns. This tree has been uprooted and replanted many times, and the species is still there. Thorn twig, in fact, is brought to the Queen every year for Christmas. The species is called Crataegus monogyna biflora, and it is not needed to postulate its migration from the east, since it is also found in Europe. This is the Crataegus, the holy thorn, one of its specimens in Glastonbury. Now, if we ask ourselves what is the earliest source of the legend, we find an important reference in the 18th century. Simpson and Roud report that on Christmas Eve in 1752, hundreds of people gathered at Glastonbury and in other places where descendants of the original thorn were growing, to see if they would bloom as usual. They did not, but on the night of 5-6 January 1753 they did. This was held to prove that the calendar change of 1752 was invalid, and 25 December no longer the real Christmas day, as reported in the Gentleman's Magazine of 1753. However, this is not the earliest mention of the thorn. In 1722, Erse's History and Antiquities of Glastonbury contained an account by Mr. Aston called A Little Monument to the Once Famous Abbey and Borough of Glastonbury, with an account of the miraculous thorn that blows still on Christmas Day and the wonderful walnut tree that usually used to blow upon St. Barnaby's Day. In this account we read, "My curiosity having led me twice to Glastonbury within these 2 years, and inquiring there into the antiquity, history, and rarities of the place, I was told by the innkeeper where I set up my horses, who rents a considerable part of the enclosure of the late dissolved Abbey, that St. Joseph of Arimatea landed not far from the town, at a place where there was an oak planted in memory of his landing, called the Oak of Avalon. That he, Joseph, and his companions marched thence to a hill near a mile on the south side of the town, and there being weary, rested themselves, which gave the hill the name of Weary Old Hill. That St. Joseph stuck on the hill his staff, being a dry hawthorn stick, which grew and constantly budded and mowed upon Christmas Day. But in the time of the civil wars, the thorn was grubbed up. However, there were in the town and neighborhood several trees raised from the thorn, which yearly budded and blowed upon Christmas Day, as the old roots did." The earliest source documenting the Holy Thorn legend in the terms in which it is known to us is an anonymous vernacular poem celebrating the life of Saint Joseph of Arimatea, published in 1520. Among the great marvels men may see at Glastonbury, the author listed 3 hawthorn trees growing on Weary Old Hill, which the burr and burgoyne leaves at Christmas as fresh as other in May, and the walnut tree situated near the Saint's Chapel, which never sprouted before St. Barnabas' Day, 11 June, as Walsham reports. However, Walsham determined that what might be an earlier source of the legend in the Middle Ages. He writes, drawing on a now lost vita by William of Malmesbury, in his Chronicle, John of Glastonbury told how St. Beninius, an Irish disciple of St. Patrick, came to the site in AD 462 and from thence set out through the forests and marshes until he reached an island where he found a solitary place fit for habitation. There he fixed his stick in the soil and watched in wonder as it put forth branches and shoots. What seems to have happened is that this ancient tradition gradually floated free of the likes of St. Beninius and reattached itself to that of St. Joseph of Arimatea. This is Walsham. Indeed, by contrast, Walsham also says, no mention is made of the Holy Thorn itself in the key medieval text, which created and buttressed the legends of the Abbey's antiquity. It is conspicuous by its omission from William of Malmesbury De Antiquitate, circa 1135, and from the chronicle composed by John of Glastonbury at the end of the 14th century. Besides, citing now Bowman, it should be recalled how the flowering staff is a common folkloric motif, associated both with special people and identification of special places. In number 17:8, for example, Aaron's staff flowers and fruits as a symbol of his status, while flowering staffs are commonly connected with Celtic and West Country saints. St. Joseph's staff is said to have been taken from the same thorn tree as that from which the crown of thorns placed on Jesus' head at the crucifixion was made. This way, the legend of St. Joseph of Arimatea merged with the traditions focuses on the Isle of Avalon and King Arthur, the legendary king who will return in Britain's hour of need. This way, Joseph deposited the Grail in the Chalice Well, just outside the town near the base of Glastonbury Tor, the hill visible for miles in the flat landscape of the Somerset Levels, topped by St. Michael's Tower. This chalybeate spring has reddish-colored water and has come to be known as the Blood Spring, with a rather embellishment that is the blood of Christ from the Holy Grail. Avalon, first mentioned by Geoffrey Monmouth, means Isle of Apples. Gerald of Wales was the first to connect Avalon or Inis Savalac in Welsh with Inis Vitrin, Isle of Glass, of which the Anglo-Saxon name Glastonbury is a translation. Now, if we ask ourselves whether Tolkien knew this legend, we find that in G.B. Smith's poem Glastonbury, a Legend, from the posthumous collection of his poems titled The Spring Harvest, and edited by his close friend J.R.R. Tolkien, Lancelot says, "Lo, this barren tree," he touched a shrub that grew beside the door, "this tree, methinks, shall bud and blossom before I pass the gates divine and enter in to the fair country I must never see." So, there is a poem dedicated to Glastonbury where Lancelot doubts his own salvation as much as he doubts that a shrub may bud and blossom again. And this is probably a testimony of the fact that Smith knew the legend of the Thorn, of the Holy Thorn. If Smith knew the legend, so Tolkien did, which means that he must have known the folklore concerning Glastonbury, including the Holy Thorn and the association with the Arthurian legend. Indeed, the main harbour in the Isle of Tolersea in the Silmarillion is called Avalone, so to confirm that his inspiration came from Glastonbury. In its invented languages, Erg is a Sindarin word meaning thorn, holy, and Nekel in Quenya means thorn. Tolkien's poem is singularly joyful. At the end of The Hobbit, as in its last verse, a mention of 6 kinds of tree. Lullaby, lullaby, alder and willow, sigh no more pine, till the wind of the morn. Full moon, dark be the land, hush, hush, oak, ash, and thorn. The last phrase, naming 3 English trees, echoes Rudyard Kipling's A Tree Song, with its refrain, "Of all the trees that grow so fair, old England to adorn, Greater are none beneath the sun than oak and ash and thorn. Tolkien names the same three trees in Tree and Leaf. Each leaf of oak and ash and thorn is a unique embodiment of the pattern. In a letter to his son Christopher, furthermore, Tolkien stated, "The silver light of spring on flower and leaf. Leaves are out, the white grey of the quince, the grey green of young apple, the full green of hawthorn, the tassels of flower, even on the sugared poplar." In 1912, Tolkien's fellow Inkling Charles Williams had written a poem titled "The Chapel of the Thorn", a dramatic poem, wherein the local church hosts a thorn from Christ's crown. So, we may reasonably think that Tolkien knew the legend, and this way, when he wrote about his Two Trees of Valinor and the White Tree of Gondor, he probably was inspired. The origins of the White Tree can be found to stem from Giovanni, writes Cunningham in 2006, giver of fruits, whose voice first gave succour to the saplings that would soon rise as Telperion and Lardin upon a hallowed mound, at Elwar at the western gate of Valmar. Later Yavanna fashioned the tree in the image of Telperion for the elves of Tirion upon Tuna, and it was given the name Galathylion and planted in the course of the city where it produced many seedlings, one of which, named Celeborn, was planted in Toleressea, the Lonely Isle. It was from this offspring of Galathylion that a further seedling was produced and brought to Númenor by the elves wherein it grew in the king's courts in Armenelos and was given the name Nimloth, White Blossom, and it was here, I propose, that an essence of Telperion, elder of the Two Trees of Valinor, became intertwined with the fate of man. Again Cunningham writes, "Such was borne out by Tar Palantir, 24th king of Númenor, who foresaw that when Nimloth, the White Tree, perished, then also would the line of the kings come to its end." This prophecy followed Tar Palantir's rekindling of the Hollow of Eru upon the Meneltarma. The White Tree had suffered at the whim of Tar Palantir's predecessor, Argimilzor, under whose rule the White Tree was untended and began to decline. The preservation and replanting of the Holy Tree is shared by the Holy Thorn and Telperion, as much as their association with kinship. Even the destruction of the Holy Thorn in the dissolution of monasteries can find a parallel in Morgoth's and Sauron's killing of the trees. On Númenor, writes Cunningham again, the most hallowed site was Meneltarma where grew Nimloth. Sauron had subsequently ventured to Númenor and misled Ar-Pharazôn into believing that Eru was the seat thrust upon men by the Valar. Now Nimloth was located in the Hollow of Eru, and I would submit that he represented a powerful icon not only of the Undying Lands, but also of Eru. Sauron would naturally seek to destroy the tree, and as he could not enter such a holy precinct, he persuaded the king to act as his agent of destruction in felling Nimloth, after which Sauron ritually cremated the tree upon the altar of Armenelos the Golden, literally embodying a foundation sacrifice preempting the temple's black function. When Isildur learned the fate of Nimloth, he used guise and stealth to secure a fruit from the tree that contained a seed, but though he accomplished his mission, he suffered grievous wounds by the weapons of the court's guards. The fruit was subsequently blessed and planted, but it was not until the young shoot rose and opened its first leaves that Isildur was seen to make a full recovery. Cunningham concludes his account by stating, in the renewal of the White Tree following the defeat of Sauron, Tolkien discounts any miraculous reawakening by having King Elester's cry of "Fia utu vienes," I have found it, herald the discovery of a seedling of the White Tree flourishing on hallowed ground amongst Mindolluin's snows, and it is with reverence that the withered tree was removed and placed in Rath Dinen, in contrast to Sauron's treatment of Nimloth. Surprisingly, though, Cunningham does not even mention the Holy Thorn of Glastonbury. To conclude, it is highly probable, since Tolkien was certainly acquainted with Glastonbury and its legends, that he was inspired, perhaps unwittingly, by the Holy Thorn of Glastonbury in creating his Two Trees of Valinor. The fact that in his 1965 interview for the BBC Tolkien claimed to have been inspired by the romance of Alexander the Great does not mean that other influences cannot have played their part. Among these, the Holy Thorn of Glastonbury, as a symbol of English Catholicism, must have had a fundamental role in stimulating Tolkien's imagination. And to conclude, I would like to show you a picture of me in Glastonbury in 2017. When I visited, it was in September, and the thorn was in flower in September, which is an even more miraculous miracle because the flowering in December is the usual miracle, but this time it's flowered in September, so it is doubly miraculous perhaps, and I'm happy to have seen it. Thank you.